screen. So you can see that now, right?
Yes. Okay, we're live.
Hello, if anyone is there and joined.
Hello?
They won't be able to say hello. We won't really know. But we'll be starting in about 3 or 4 minutes. I feel, Rochelle, like there's a way to see who's viewing.
Yeah, it says 0 viewers right now.
Okay, so that's just us then. All right. Well, their PD workshop went until 3 o'clock. So whatever we're saying is going to end up in the recording. That's okay.
Okay.
Let me put something up on screen that makes sense. Put up. So now you can see the slide, right?
I can.
There it is. Someone's Skyping in.
Yes. Well, someone's Skyping me. I usually have a work call at 3.
You know what I might do actually is once we have a few viewers, just as
It says we have 2 viewers so far. Welcome.
hi. We're just getting ready to get started. I might record my screen just as a backup.
Okay.
In case it doesn't go to YouTube. So if you're just joining us, folks, we'll get started in a few minutes. We understand there was a PD session this afternoon that people are probably navigating back from and logging into their email to find our link. So thank you for being here.
So we're up to 5 viewers, Sean. You want to maybe start when we get about 10?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So thank you for waiting patiently. We're going to wait a few more minutes for others to join. We have about 8 viewers so far, and we're waiting on a few more.
That's good. I open my mail so I can show people how to navigate to Google Plus as well. Let me just start my recording here. Rochelle, can you see that full screen now?
Let me see. Yes.
Okay, great. I feel like we're like in the space shuttle or something and navigating back to communicating with Houston, except we're not quite as important.
I beg to differ.
As long as we don't have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Folks, if you're just joining in, we're going to get started in about a minute or 2 minutes max. We're just waiting for participants to navigate to the links so that they can be viewing the webinar. How many we have so far, Rochelle?
Let me check. Okay, we're up to 15 viewers.
Okay. Why don't we get started then?
Great.
It is, let's just see, 3:05, so that's a good time to get started. So welcome everyone. This is one of our supporting webinars that is meant to review some of the material and skills and strategies and all the tech stuff we shared our first day, and also go into some new directions as well. So it's not going to be just a review during this particular webinar. This webinar is going to include some of the things that we went through and also delve into some new areas. And the second webinar, which is scheduled for next week, will be focused on Gmail. And we got a lot of good tricks and tips on how to use your new mail interface. So it'll be going far beyond just how to open a message and how to reply to things that can really save you time in using your Gmail and also integrating with some of the other Google services. So I'm here and Rochelle's here. I'm actually in Cincinnati. Just got to my room in time to start doing this with you guys. So that's exciting. But Rochelle's in your zone. So what we're going to do today are a few different activities that would require you to be in your drive and access a few things. So just to remind you, you don't want to close the window that you're in right now. If you do accidentally close the window that you're in right now, just navigate back to your email and click on the link and you can rejoin. But the best way to be doing this is you've got us in one window, and if you're using Chrome or Safari, you can open a new window and navigate to your drive. So in your drive, there are going to be a few associated materials as well as this actual presentation I'm showing you so that you can refer to it later. So you'll be able to pull this up anytime that you want. In your drive, there's a section that's called Shared with Me, and I'm actually going to just show you that as well. So I'll go to not full screen mode. So here in my drive, because Rochelle shared it with me, if I look here, I'm seeing my drive and I'm seeing everything by clicking in the left sidebar here on my drive. There's also a section that's called Shared with Me, and that's going to show you just the stuff that you didn't create that was shared with you, where my drive contains everything. There's a folder here that Rochelle has created, so you'll see that it was shared to you by Rochelle C. Okay, and the folder is called Going Google Webinar. So in that are a few documents, one of which we partially just created because we were discovering the Q&A or question and answer part of Google Hangouts was not working for us. And anyway, this pretty much does the same thing. We created a document here called Everett Q&A 10.9. So we'll be checking in on that document throughout this, and Rochelle, you can check and I can check, and we can interrupt each other in case there's a question. But what you would do here is you can see it says type your question into an empty row, and you would just say, how do I, okay, ... We'll notice and we'll speak to the questions as they come up. That's kind of the best we can do. We're still kind of newbies on using Google Plus, but it's been exciting to learn it really for your purposes. The other possibility was a web interface that MassCUE has, but I noticed the recording features didn't work as well, and we might as well show you around in another Google tool. So another thing before we really get started is that we need to take attendance. So there is a Google form. You can sign into that Google form at bit.ly. You might want to write this down and then type it in, but I'll type it in myself too. Make sure you type this in exactly. We did cover this a bit during your day, so you know how to do this. bit.ly/Everett I was here 1. So Everett I was here, meaning you were in attendance. Janice did ask us to take attendance, so that's how we're going to give her the attendance. So it's bit, don't worry, you don't have to do it this very minute, and if you get confused, you can ask one of your colleagues, oh wait, how was I supposed to sign in? bit.ly, Everett, I was here, 1. Hopefully I did it right. There we go. Do you see that, Rochelle, when I put that in, or did I make a mistake?
Nope, I do see it. It's there.
You see it. Okay, it brought me to my editing part, but you see webinar attendance if you do it?
Yes.
Okay.
And Sean, just to point out to the viewers, you all have that webinar folder. You should have that in your Shared With Me drive. I just shared it with you about 10 minutes ago, or 10 to 15 minutes ago. So you all have that shared folder, and you're able to go into it and access anything that's in that folder, including any comments or questions you have for us during the webinar.
Great. Okay, I'm not really seeing anyone on questions, so that's good so far.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So our agenda today then is going to be, well, we're going to talk about what you're looking at here on screen and how we're delivering this webinar to you through a feature or an app within Google Apps called Google+. It's in addition to just being a way to connect with others through a video conference like what we're doing here, it also can serve some other interesting purposes and is worth exploring while not mandatory. We are going to then do some review of Google Docs with an activity, and a review of Google presentations with an additional activity. So both of those are, you know, those of you who are participating, you're going to get to add to a shared document or a shared presentation as a way of reviewing, but it's a cool way to see what it looks like when a bunch of folks are collaborating within a resource. So, and then lastly, we're going to talk about, we've looked at many of the Google tools and how they're accessible through a web browser. So that doesn't matter whether you're on a Mac or PC. Everything that we went through the other day or a few weeks ago applies and works the same way through your web browser. But it's interesting also just to take a look at the iPad, for example, and what the apps are for Google Tools and how you could potentially utilize those, whether you're an individual with one iPad or you have access to a cart of iPads or some other arrangement. It's still good to know what these apps could do for you in your classroom, even if you have limited iPads available. Okay, so we're first going to talk about what we're in right now, which is Google+. Google Plus came out a few years ago, about 2011 or so, as Google's step into the social media or social networking arena. They had a few other extensions of that they had tried previously that didn't work out so well for them, but Google Plus has stuck around. It still can be something that people talk about as being a really beautiful, well-built kind of place that doesn't have a lot of activity to it, and it doesn't compared to, say, Facebook or Twitter. But it has some nice features, particularly for education, and there are a lot of things going on in Google Plus that are usable for educators, not just how we're using it right now as what's called a hangout. So it's Google's social network, and why consider using it? It really does have a great, easy-to-use interface. It's very good-looking, and one of the nicest tools I've fooled around with in terms of the interface compared to other social networks. There are many different sharing options. So if you're going to use Google Plus, just like any other network, you could use it to share absolutely nothing and just use it receptively to connect with others and monitor what they might be posting and not really post anything yourself. But if you want to get into sharing things on Google Plus, one of the things that has made it attractive is that you can share things publicly, which means everyone can see them, or you can create what are called circles. So circles are sort of equivalent to, on Facebook, like a friend list, but much easier to build. And you could create a circle for social studies at a particular grade level or in a building. You could create a circle of just all of the teachers in a particular building, or you could create circles for your classes. So it's kind of unlimited the way that you want to do that. So each circle creates its own kind of community, but there also are communities that you can join, and there's built-in ones that were designed for educators that you can check out. So a couple of links here that I'm not going to go through the material at length because we have limited time, but when you navigate to this presentation after the fact, you can check out these particular links. So when you click on Why Consider It, this is a great post about Google Plus and education, written by Social Media Education, and talking about how Google Plus can be used for engaging in valuable conversations with some of the leading leaders in education, like Education Week magazine or the U.S. Department of Education or Khan Academy. Getting involved in communities, as I just mentioned. There's a few mentioned here, and I'll give you a list otherwise. But also doing what we're doing right here, which is called a Hangout, and I'll tell you about that a little bit more in a moment. So that post led to that. Sorry, I went ahead of slide. So in terms of the communities piece, and I'll show you around in Google Plus briefly as well, this link leads you to 10 Google Plus communities every teacher should know about. So it has things like Educational Leadership Magazine, Connected Learning, iPad Ed, STEM Educators, a community that's about Google Docs and Drive. Those are communities that you can navigate to and join. This little link here is about video conferencing. We're going to take a look a little bit later. Sorry, it links to slide 18. It should go to slide 1, I guess. We're going to take a look later at a couple of resources. Tom Barrett, who's an internationally known instructional tech specialist, a few years ago created these crowdsourced Google presentations, meaning that he put the topic out there and lots of educators interested in technology just added to the presentation, and one of them was called 15 Interesting Ways to Use Web Conferencing in the Classroom. So Google Plus can be used a lot like Skype or other resources So this particular resource gives you some ideas on how to web conference. Very popular way of doing this is bringing someone who wouldn't normally be able to join your classroom into your classroom through web conferencing, and Google Plus could be a resource for that. And you can show your whole class or have your class interact with an expert that they wouldn't normally be able to. And so here also is an interesting description of using Google Hangouts. So check out all of those after the fact. They're there for you there. But just to show you exactly what is Google Plus, how do you get to it, I'm here in my email, showing you my email, no problem. And you can see that my email looks a little different because it's got a profile picture here that I added actually in Google Plus. And how you get to Google Plus is that you click plus and and your name, and it brings you there. If we don't have access to your exact Everett interface, so if by some chance you're looking at this and going, what are you talking about? I don't see that. It may be because Google Plus isn't turned on yet for you, but that could be something that you could discuss with Mark or Janice. So I can't guarantee you're seeing exactly what I'm seeing, but basically it's a turn-on thing, so it can be turned on for you. So going in here, we can see my Google Plus profile that I'm actually shows the Hangout that I'm in currently. When you first click over to Google Plus, it will recognize from your email contacts some people you might know, and you can add them to circles. So that's how you actually add people. So these are my circles. So if I go here to friends, it will load all the people that I've added here as friends. And you can actually look for people and add additional people and add them to circles. Just like you would on Facebook or Twitter, this is how you post to Google+. You could attach a photo, you could attach a link, you could attach a video. They just added this new feature of being able to add a poll. So you can poll a group of people. So that's one reason that that's very interesting for education. So you can see here it says 2 friends. So I could pick additional circles here or take out friends or send it to all my circles or send it to a specific circle. So that's kind of what I was talking about there with circles. One of the main ways to navigate around Google Plus is to look here at your home menu on the left. You can see it brings you to your profile, to people you know, to any photos you've uploaded, and the resource that we're using right now is called Hangouts. So what is a Google Hangout? It's a video chat that can be between a number of people. I forget. I think there's like an upper limit of like 10 people or so that can participate in a Google Hangout. And unlike Skype, this kind of group video chat is free. It's just part of Google+. So if you start a Hangout, I won't start one now because I'm in one. If you start a Hangout, you can add the specific people via email that you want to join the chat. It's a good idea to have scheduled that with them so they know it's coming. And you can conduct a web conference that way. So if you're in one building and people are in another building, you can web conference easily and you can see each other as you talk. One of the cool things about it is that it recognizes when you talk so that a view of you will come up large on screen, and if your friend starts talking, it will show the video of them. So it switches views, and it's sensitive to that. I've actually heard that it's even sensitive to American Sign Language. When someone is signing, it can pull that person up. The part of Hangouts that we're using is called a Hangout on Air. So that's actually a different kind of Hangout. If you start a Hangout on Air, that's a broadcast, so all of you can be in it. You're not talking back and forth with us, you're just viewing it. Hangouts on Air automatically go to YouTube and are saved in a YouTube channel. So that could be a way that you could create a lesson for your students as a hangout on air with you talking and showing your screen. That's another great thing about Hangouts is you can share your screen, which is what I'm doing here when I show you this presentation. So if you wanted to create a lesson and send it out to your class, that's a good way to access the model that's called the flipped classroom. So here we are. I don't have any questions so far, but be sure I will check back with you if you have any particular questions. We'll be looking at this document throughout, but I'm going to hand it over to Rochelle to do the next piece.
Okay, so let me just share my screen. Okay, here we go. And
I'll stop sharing mine. There we go.
Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen, yes.
Okay. Okay. Bear with me for one moment. So the first portion of what I'm going to be talking about is basically a review of Google Docs and Google Presentations. So right now what you're seeing up on screen is just the Q&A that we created for you to add questions. But the first thing that we're going to actually do is, let me go to the presentation first of all. You still seeing my screen, Sean?
I'm just putting my headphones in because I was getting a little feedback there.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, here we go. The first thing that I just want to point out to you is a great resource that Sean actually found that you can take a look at as a link within the presentation. And like we talked about before, the presentation is available to you in that webinar folder on your Google Drive if you just click on Shared with Me. So you'll be able to access this presentation and just click on this link and take a look at this very interesting article. It's actually a Google presentation in itself that I will click on here. Okay, just to show you. And it essentially talks about 34 interesting ways that you can use Google Docs in your classroom. And as you kind of go through this, you might get some ideas. Some of it might not apply, but I found that this can be very helpful in just kind of, after you've learned the basics of Docs, of actually applying it to your realm, and that's going to differ for everyone. What we're actually going to do as practice today is we're going to practice the number 4 slide here, and I'm just kind of scrolling through here.
Sorry, I'm just making sure people know where it is. So go ahead. If I was editing, yeah.
And you're able to see this, Sean, correct?
Yes.
On your screen. Okay. So number 4 is actually very interesting, and one of the things that is wonderful about Google Docs is actually the fact that you can create a doc and it's saved in real time, but you can actually have multiple people working on a doc at once. And I actually learned something as I was going through this presentation, and that was that you can have 10 people working on a presentation at once. But I think for docs and forms, you can have up to, I think it was 200 people working on a document at once. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So we're going to actually put this to the test today during the webinar. But you can actually, as we're doing this, and we're going to do just a simple activity today where you're going to be collaborating with everyone who is here at the webinar. But you can think about how you could apply this in your classroom. Not just for student purposes, which I mean it could work very well for student purposes, but also think about it in terms of working with your colleagues and how this could actually help and save you time kind of in the long run. So instead of, I know one of the most difficult things that my colleagues and I ran into was just scheduling a time that worked for everyone to collaborate and plan, and just making it work with everyone's schedules. And this could be a way to collaborate with, your colleagues and your administration without even leaving your classroom. So, or, if you had another thing to do, you could go back and collaborate later after they had already done it. So I'm just going to actually show you right now how to collaborate on a document. And what this article suggests is actually creating a table in a document to facilitate the collaboration so that it's not just a free-for-all of everyone typing, that everyone kind of takes a cell within the document, and that's their cell to share within. So that's what we're going to do today. So I've actually created this document for you, and that document is also located, and it's been shared with you, it's located in the webinar folder. Now, I shared the entire webinar folder with you. If you click inside the webinar folder, and you know what, I'll just show you. Let's see. Here we are. Okay, so here's the folder that I've actually shared with you. This is Going Google Webinar. Within that folder, there's a subfolder called Webinar 1. And what you want to do is just click on that subfolder, and you will see the collaborative doc, How I've Used Google Tools. And that's the one you want to click on and open. So go into your Google Drive, click on Shared with Me, find Going Google Webinar, click on the subfolder, Webinar 1, and this is the doc that you want to click on, Collaborative Doc. And I'm actually going to go into that document.
And Rochelle, Rochelle, can I just interject for a second?
Yes.
I noticed that the Q&A document, though I put it in your share. This is just something we have to think through, everyone. I put it in the folder that you shared with everyone. Even though I put it in there, it was only shared to you. So one reason why we might not have gotten any questions yet is because folks might not have been able to view it. So I know that many people are viewing the presentation, so I know you can see that. So I'm going to just type in a link here so that you can get to it. If you could just give me one quick second, I'll make it Everett QA1. Okay, and then say save. We had to improvise because our Q&A piece wasn't working that well. So I'm just going to put this on slide 6, which is for Q&A. It's bit.ly/Everett QA1 for Q&A. So I do apologize. I'll just put that on every slide so you'll be able to see it every place while Rochelle is continuing that instruction with you. Sorry about that, folks.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Just actually going into the collaborative document, just in that short time, and I know some people probably went in ahead of time, which is great, you can actually see the document and how it's kind of evolving. So, so far we have quite a few people who have Okay. Quite a few people who have shared their thoughts and actually done some really neat things, including changing fonts and changing colors. And one of the things that if you added something here that I want you to do is just go into whatever it is you've added, how you've used tools, and if you have just black text right now, go in and just change it according to how you feel about Google Tools. So if I'm looking at Erin's right now, she says she's used the Sites app for my students. So Erin, if you could go in and just change that that text to represent, how you felt about doing that. Is it screaming capital red letters because you had a lot of difficulty with it? Or I see Carolyn has some beautifully scripted text there, so that just makes me feel like her experience with Drive has been flowing and beautiful. So we're just having you do that just to kind of experiment with changing text and showing emotion through your words, and many of you are doing that right now, which is great. The other thing I'd love for you to do is just to go into another colleague's field, the comments field, and to add a comment to respond to a colleague. And this will just show you how you can, collaborate with colleagues, add comments. This is unresponsive for some reason, and actually kind of communicate back and forth through a document. So I'm just gonna let you have like maybe 2 minutes to do this, 2 or 3 minutes.
And I noticed some people typing into the Q&A, so thanks for your patience with that. Someone wrote, "Yay, I got it," so that's good. But there aren't any questions yet. Feel free to write your questions in the comments, within this, collaborative doc as well.
Right, and I see that Chris W. has asked where the Q&A doc was, which is great. He found a way to communicate with us. So.
Let's see.
Excellent job. This is really great. You're getting it. So take another minute just to do that in docs, and then we'll move on. The other thing I just want to point out too is, obviously there are going to be comments next to what you've written, and if you want to go back in after the webinar is over and communicate with your colleagues through this document, it's shared with you, and you'll be able to do that.
It's nice seeing the comments about there's less paper being passed out this way. Let's just see. Peter was noted to be maybe upset because his question's in red. But we don't think you necessarily were upset. Peter asked a question. I want to use Google Drive to have students submit work, but I need to know if they can just sign up with any old email. I think this is partially a question for Mark, too, because I saw someone note that it would be good if more students had access to it. So I think as this is rolled out more in your district, you will see that this becomes more seamless when every student has access to it, as a part of their Everett resource. But they can't access Google Drive with any old email, but if they have a Gmail account, which many students do, they are able to share with you. Ms. Simmons is noting she taught the kids how to share in Gmail, and that's fun. Okay.
The other thing I just want to point out as you add to this is you'll notice all over the screen there are little flags popping up. and disappearing. And as users enter in their information, those little flags will pop up here and there. And if you look at the top of your screen, it actually will show you who's collaborating on the document, and that's what all of these color letters mean.
Okay.
So you're doing a great job. Keep on. If you're finishing up, keep finishing right now. But I just want to show you something quickly before I move on to presentations. So this is a way that we've been collaborating together. You know, real time, which is so valuable. But I just want to show you an example of a way that you can kind of collaborate with your students on assignments, and I'm just going to show you an example of one right now. This is actually an assignment that was submitted to me in a professional development course by a teacher, and essentially what she did was she shared the assignment with the whole group. So she put the assignment in a shared folder that was shared with the entire class, and what I did was I went to File, and I made a copy of it, and then I renamed it Kathy F. Final Assignment. And what I was able to do is I was able to share that document with her. So I was able to work with her and collaborate on the document and offer my comments to her, but the rest of the group was not able to see those comments. However, since I made a copy, we were able to collaborate together. But the entire class still had access to her document in the shared folder. So that just gives you an idea. If a student creates a document or a writing assignment or a project, and you want to comment on it, but you also want the entire class or someone else to be viewing it too, if you make a copy, you can then comment on the copy instead of the actual document for all to see. So this just gives you an example of the assignment, and what I did was I actually graded this assignment, but I commented on her work, and to do that, what I did was very simply, here's this little comment button over here, but I would highlight whatever it is I wanted to comment on. All right, hold on a second. My screen delay here. All right, so I just clicked on comments. That will show you. That shows you a list of my comments here. She can actually go in, and if you take a look at the comment that that I wrote here, she can go in. Kathy can go in, and she can actually reply to the comment. She can respond to my comment. So there's a nice collaboration between the two of us, and she can respond to my questions. So for instance, how long are your class periods? She can reply to that and answer me. But if I want to just comment on something specific, for some reason my screen, I think it's because I have all of these windows open, my screen is not, everything's working very slowly. But in order to, what'd you say, Sean?
It was for me too, maybe just because we're broadcasting it.
Right. I think, so in order to comment on something specific, so let's say she had a typo or something, I just would have to highlight the text, and then I would have to click comment, and I would be able to type a comment to her. And I just made a change here that I'm going to undo.
If I can add to that too, just
Sure.
yeah, recently I had to write an article with a colleague for a publication, and we wrote like a 3,000-word article without ever meeting, and I think we did a good job on it, and we just used it right through Docs. We went start to finish through Docs and started writing, wrote our questions back and forth to each other and used the commenting feature really extensively. And it just made it so easy because we both have busy schedules, and it was tough. But it just speaks to the collaborative power of this.
Exactly. And just one final thought. So I led you through the document and showed how I commented on everything, but also at the very end, I just wrote her a note just directly into the document. I gave her grade, and I gave her feedback on the document. And I changed the font to make it look like handwriting. So So there's also that option as well. So, Sean, do we have any questions popping up?
I just noticed that Mark, by the way, thank you for being here. Mark did comment within the collaborative doc that students will be added to Google Apps in the near future, so that will be happening. So that will make things ever easier for you. And someone else noted that Google Plus wasn't available through the high school, but perhaps that's something that can be studied and weighed for that, because a lot of educational organizations do have that open. There wasn't necessarily anything in the questions doc, but I'll give the collaborative doc a scan to see if there was anything. But if you want to just continue, we're good.
Sure. So great job with the live collaboration on the Google Doc. And I encourage you after the actual webinar to go into the doc and just kind of review everyone's comments. I think you'll find it really interesting. And so now we're going to actually collaborate on...
If I can just add there too, Rochelle, there are going to be people who are watching the recording of this webinar and hopefully doing this same process and adding to the document. So it will be worth going back to check, because there should be new content in it, as some of your colleagues who weren't able to be here live might add to it as well.
Great. So just moving on within the presentation, so we're going to just look at how you could use presentations in live collaboration, and this will be interesting because there is a limit to how many people can actually collaborate on a presentation. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of trickles out, because there are, I think, 25 people or so on the call. So so if you do not get to collaborate, just kind of watch your screen and watch others collaborate. But before we start that, Sean actually found another great resource for you on using 5 unusual ways to use presentations in your classroom. And I always find that when I read these articles, something new pops into my head about how I want to use it. So, like for instance, I just clicked here, using presentations for flashcards. So you could, have students collaborate with one another, and each group is responsible for making like 5 vocab flashcards for a unit. And then, if each group creates 5, at the end you have, a collaborative effort on their part to work on vocabulary flashcards. And they've now built up their own collection of flashcards that they can then, if they share if the presentation is shared with all of them, that they can use as a study tool. So that's just a good article for you. It's a quick read, and it's 5 ways to use presentations. And so going back to my presentation here. So we're going to now collaborate on a presentation. And in that webinar folder that was shared with you earlier, you should have the actual presentation. And remember, presentations are represented with this kind of golden box with the white box inside of it. And what we want you to do is, the presentation is called School ... the first 30 days. And we'd like each person who's able to collaborate to add a slide and just a point to put your name somewhere on the slide so we know whose is whose. And then just go in and describe your first month of school in general. And hopefully those will all be great positive slides. And include, if you can, some of the following, including like text, an image if you can, if you want to use a drawing, a video, if you want to implement a link in there, whatever you think you would like your slide to hold. So, and I can actually, let me just open up that document here. Here it is. Someone's already working here. Excellent. School is flying by, and there's a picture. Carolyn, great job, Carolyn. and so, and there, it seems like there are a few more people who are coming in right now. So, you know, if you're not wanting to collaborate, or you just want to kind of, you know, sit back and watch this come to fruition, I created the title slide as the instructor, and now I'm having all of you go in and add to that. And in just minutes, we already have, you know, 4 slides in place, and
awesome.
a few people working on each. Sean?
I just said that's awesome. It's great.
Oh.
It's great how these collaborative documents worked out for this particular context.
If you're not sure how to insert a link or an image, all you need to do is go to Insert here. And here are all your choices. A text box, you can insert an image. I think we showed you how to do that in our live meeting a month ago. You can put a video in there. There's some word art, drawing, if you want to draw a shape or a line. And then same thing, if you wanted to, I need to just close this out. If you were not able to create a slide, or if you're just watching and you want to comment on Carolyn's slide here, you can do that simply by clicking comment. Then this little box here, comment. And then, great job. And I'm going to click comment. And that should show up in a minute. It's very slow.
It's great to see some of your comments. The students this year have done a fantastic job with class discussions based off of textual readings, says Mr. Bailey. Sarah's working on a cool slide there with an image, though, within her classroom, which is great. Poetry and images.
Oh, there's my comment. So,
Chris asks, what am I supposed to put here? You can put whatever you're thinking about how your first 30 days went. A picture or some text.
If you're kind of following along and not creating a slide right now, these little letters that are popping up are everyone who's creating a slide, and they're, so the D right here is actually, everything's jumping around because there are so many people working in the document. So it's kind of interesting.
Oh, I'm sorry, go
Sean.
ahead. No, you finish your
I was just going
sentence.
to say it's kind of interesting to see how you know, how this is just kind of going haywire, but at the end of it we'll have, you know, a composed document, hopefully.
So folks that are watching the recording of this, I would encourage you to participate in these 2 collaborative documents also, so that even if you weren't here live, to get the practice at adding a slide and seeing what everyone else did in both this and the other document would be great. And we'll be sending to you guys all also the link to the recording of this. So if anyone asks you, wait, how do I get to that? We'll be sending it to everyone anyway. But basically, you can watch the recording of this whole thing on YouTube. So if someone's noting she's having some trouble making edits, it might just be because so many people are in there at once. And we don't usually have 19 people editing a presentation at the same time.
Sean, I just wanted to call Denise's question to the forefront. Oh, these are looking beautiful. So using my email account and need tips on navigating through it, here's one particular question. When a thread starts of a group of sharing emails, how can I extract only one of those emails in the group to forward to another party? You're welcome, Denise.
Sure.
So,
do you want me to?
Yeah, you want to take that
thread.
while they're working for another few minutes?
Yeah. So if we will discuss this during the next webinar, which is going to be more specifically on Gmail, and I had to find my Hangout window here. So I'm going to screen share just for a moment because that is a good question. And then probably what we'll do is just veer into our last slides because we're going to be wrapping up in the next couple of minutes. So you can see that. So let me just see if I can find something that actually is a conversation. Let's see. Okay, I can show you this one. So you're viewing my mail right now, which is a mail I use to work with a bunch of different schools. And you can see here where I'm circling, there's a subject line, Brain Pop Junior. And so a teacher had asked if we could have Brain Pop Junior available. So this is what's called a conversation, when it has more than one reply or going back and forth. And you can actually see it has the number 5 here, so that it's showing me there were 5 exchanges. And if you click on this, if you click on the conversation, okay, it shows the conversation, but then with a little bit of compression here. You see how it doesn't show the subject or the first line of all 5 conversations. What it tends to do is show you the first line of the first one, and then the first line of the second last, and the last one. And then you see these in-between lines. So if I wanted to see the second part of the conversation, I can click there to see the first line of it and then open the second part of the conversation. All right, and then lastly, if I just wanted to forward just one part of the conversation, that can be a little tricky because what it does is, see my little dots here? It trims the content. Okay, so if I click on that, it untrims it so I can see all the way back through. So the best way to forward someone one part of the conversation without showing them all of it is to copy and paste it. Just to make sure you always think of those dots down there, and what could be down there, because communication problems can happen that way. Okay, so hopefully that answered your question, because that is kind of an urgent one to know about using your new mail. About that if I were to forward the last part of this conversation, sorry, I'm probably making you dizzy, to anyone, they would see the whole thing. Okay, because it contains the replies. So if you ever want to just send part of it, copy and paste it into a new mail, new conversation, just to make sure you don't get yourself in any kind of weird, awkward situation. Would you agree with that, Rochelle? Oh my gosh, was I not sharing the screen? I wasn't sharing the screen.
I'm laughing because I'm looking at some of the slides.
And I'm laughing because I wasn't sharing the stupid screen. We'll cover that. Let's answer that question in a different way. We'll cover that in the next webinar.
Yes, we're going to talk a little bit more
I'll be real
next session about Gmail, and just, it's funny because I love Gmail now, but when I first started using Gmail, I could not figure it out because I used Outlook for the longest time and Hotmail. So it takes a bit of getting used to, so hopefully we'll be able to walk you through that next time, and you'll be able to tackle that with as much ease as I do now. I really do feel comfortable with Gmail, but it's kind of quirky. But Chris, your baby is very cute, if that's your actual baby, and really great job on all of these slides. I just want to highlight one before we move on. That. Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm sharing my screen now. So why don't you just describe it?
Chris put a picture. He put, what am I supposed to put here? And then he put a picture of his daughter. Someone wrote Happy Halloween. I keep losing the. Oh, here's the actual slide. Dr. Barcha wrote that it's a very good start of the year. And he wrote keep calm, and he put an image, keep calm and study chemistry. So really great job with those collaborative docs and collaborative presentations. And you can see in just a few minutes how we went from a 1-slide document to like a 25-slide document. So great job.
That's excellent. That was better than I could have imagined.
Exactly. Good
You
job.
know, we can tell you that doing a webinar is about 90% terror. So it's a little bit more complicated than presenting it in person. So thanks for your patience with everything. So really briefly, I just want to let you know what's out there on iOS, and you can find these same apps for Android devices too. All of them are of course free. The Google Drive app has evolved over time. You used to be able to create documents and spreadsheets in the app, and now the app will just prompt you to download separate apps for those functions, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But one reason the Google Drive app itself is still useful is that app is what you can use to organize your content, so to make folders and to organize stuff into folders. And another reason the Google Drive app is really helpful in an iPad environment, if there's even just a couple of iPads available to a classroom, is if there was an assignment given in a particular app that, like Pic Collage, for example. Pic Collage lets you make it like a poster or a picture collage related to any topic. If you wanted to do that in a situation where there were a cart of iPads, especially, as the classroom teacher, collecting those students' work would be complicated if you had to go and touch every iPad and view their work or email it off. Rather, the students can be taught to go into a Google Drive or sign into their own Google Drive once you have that available. And they can upload. You can see on this screen that within this app, you can just do the plus symbol and then tap Upload Photos or Videos. So if you're using an app like Pic Collage, it lets you save the product that you're making back to the Photos app on the iPad. And then you can use the Google Drive app to upload your work and then share it. So it's just a great way to kind of bring the content that kids create together, so it can be used, in ways beyond what we've been talking about, because you can add photos or videos that might have been created. This is what the Docs app looks like. This is an additional app, and as I had said, if you try to go create a doc, Drive will transfer you into this or prompt the installation when you're working on a doc. And the Docs app is just sort of a basic pared down version of creating a doc. It doesn't let you do some aspects like adding an image. And the Slides app, this is what the Slides app looks like. It's pretty new. It just came out in the last 2 months. And you can create you can view presentations in it, and you can edit the presentation's text and change the basic content of a presentation. But so far, you cannot add images within the app. But I would imagine that's something that they're working on bringing into being. So before we do the complete wrap-up, if I can just remind you, and especially if you came in late, please do sign in. There's a Google form, which is at bit.ly/Everett I was here 1. Okay, bit.ly/Everett I was here 1 is your attendance, because Janice is going to want the results of that form just to see who was here or who watched it. If you were watching this in a delayed fashion, please also use that form to do that. We'll see if there's any other wrap-up questions. We'll look at the Q&A.
The other thing, Sean, too, is if beyond the webinar you have questions like Denise did about Gmail or anything that you kind of run into, that document's there for you. So feel free to add to it, and then we can either take a look periodically between now and the next webinar, and either get in touch with you or attack some of your questions at the next webinar. So, or even at the face-to-face that we have on November 4th. So just remember, if you have anything that you want to share, just add it to that document, and even just like maybe put your email in there, and we'll get in touch with you.
That's a good idea. So we'll be sending the webinar recording link, which will show up on Rochelle's YouTube channel because she started the webinar today. And next week at the same time from 3 to 4 p.m. On Thursday, we'll be doing the Gmail webinar. So hopefully you can tune in then, or watch the recording after the fact. And we'll be seeing many of you hopefully on November 4th at Everett High School. We understand we're doing a morning session for you because there's something going on in the afternoon. So I'm taking a look too just to see if anyone typed any. Someone asked, how come my name does not show up as a present attendee? You wouldn't see, I'm not sure where you're saying it doesn't show up. So if you asked that question, you want to go back and clarify that in the Q&A document. I don't know where you're looking for your name and not seeing it. The reason it says anonymous moose and anonymous badger is that's, I believe, just how you're an anonymous ferret. I think that's something within the settings in Everett, because I can see it shows me R, Rochelle C, and everyone that's here. Though I've seen some names too. Haven't you, Rochelle?
Yeah, you can actually go in and change those, and
Okay.
maybe next time we have a little bit more time, we can show you how to do that. I mean, some people are having fun with it, but there is a way to go in and change yourself so you are anonymous, and you can add a picture and a little icon too.
Yeah.
So maybe leave that on there, Sean, and we'll attack that
Yeah.
that question next time.
And Denise is saying her name doesn't show up as a present attendee. It shows up as anonymous moose. So this is basically the same question that the other person asked. This is not how you're being marked as present or not present for the session. That was that link, which was at bit.ly. I'll actually type it into the document so that you can see it. Bit.ly Everett, I was here. And I'll make it a link. So make sure that you're doing hold on one second. That's the link in the Q&A document. So make sure you've done that, Denise. Okay, because that's how we're keeping track of who was here.
So just to give some back pats for today, in just an hour's time, many of you may have experienced this before, but you've watched and participated in a live webinar through Google+. You've collaborated with colleagues on a doc and a presentation. You've explored Google Hangouts and Google Circles and Google+, and also caught a little glimpse of how Google works on an iPad. So you've really accomplished a lot in an hour, and hopefully, if you want to delve any deeper into these areas, you'll share your thoughts with us and we can help you.
Absolutely. Kudos from me too, and thank you for your time again and for trying something new. As we said, doing webinars is always interesting, and being a participant in a webinar is kind of odd also at the first time that you do it. Denise, you're mentioning you signed in at the beginning, then you're all set. Okay, don't worry about being Anonymous Moose. We don't know why you're Anonymous Moose. Maybe we can give some more information about that next time. Okay.
Okay, we will see you all in a week. And well, you'll see us or see our screens in a week. And then beyond that, we will see you on the 4th for a face-to-face presentation. So great job, and thank you for spending your hour with us, and talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone.